Welcome back, everybody, to this week's edition of the PGA DFS Pick Show. I am your host, John McNutt. I can be found on socials at JohnCool19. I'm here for Fantasy Sports Insight, talking DraftKings Daily Fantasy PGA. As always, all stats on this show are powered by Fantasy National Golf Club. Big shout out to those guys, everything they do. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have all of the information that I pack into this video. So thanks again to those guys over at Fantasy National Golf Club. If you haven't before, check them out. Tons of stats. You can build your own modeling, everything else. So certainly give them a look. But let's go ahead and jump into this week's event, the Genesis Invitational. We are headed back to California, Pacific Palisades. To be specific, this is the Riviera Country Club. Course is about 7,300 yards. This is a par 71 with POA grass greens. So kind of a bit about the course. We're looking here at some difficult to hit fairways. They're pretty narrow. This is, in general, a very difficult course. There's lots of sand, quite a bit of hazards to deal with there. So we're looking for really good on the approach this week. And because the greens are very difficult to hit as well, they are firm and fast, a lot of roll, run out. So golfers are going to miss the green quite a bit this week. Because of that, I'm putting around the greens near the top of my modeling, as well as scrambling. Again, those narrow fairways are going to lead to a lot of missed fairways. Golfers needing to scramble to get back in position for birdie or at least to save par. Again, a difficult course, so a par on a lot of these holes is not bad at all. So I am including bogey avoidance in my modeling this week. Also including course history for this year's PGA Tour. This is one of the top courses when it comes to a correlation of history on the course and how golfers perform. So certainly looking at course history more this week than the average week. Last week we did as well, but this week, again, one of the top courses for correlation there. A few other things I'm tossing into my modeling. I mentioned there's a lot of sand on the course, so sand saves. Drive distance as well. It is a bit of an advantage this week for the longer drivers. Still need some accuracy, but certainly distance more important than accuracy this week. And also including par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. There are 6 of those on the course this week, so we'll pop that into the model. And the last thing, as far as proximity goes, this tournament allows for a lot of long shots. Really, we're talking 150 to 175 and 175 to 200 yards. A lot of shots are coming in from there. We're not talking about almost any shots, way less than the tour average when it comes to anything below 150 yards this week. When it comes to 200 plus, it's right about on average as far as the PGA Tour, so still quite a few, but that 150 to 200 range, a lot more than typical. So I plug that into my modeling as well. So that's probably about it. I included shots gained on difficult scoring courses, trying to get a look at who performs really well when it comes to difficult scoring, like we plan to see this week. Let's go ahead and jump into my top plays on DraftKings. Starting near the top here, but a little bit down, that's going to be Xander Schauffele. He had another good showing last week. I really like Xander this week at 9,900 on DraftKings, 16-1 outright, absolutely in play on your betting card. His form, his last missed cut was all the way back at the Masters last April. So the guy's just been playing super, super well the last year. This season, really starting since the swing season, he's finished 9th, 3rd, 13th, and then he was 10th place last week at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. It's great form there. Good course history as well. He's played here 5 times. The worst finish was 23rd. The other 4 were all top 15 finishes. I would take that here for his 9,900 on DraftKings any day. He's really good on POA grass when it comes to putting. He ranks 7th in this field the last 75 rounds. He's also very good on par 5s. Didn't mention that on the course kind of breakdown, but the par 5s here, really you got to make birdie on a lot of these par 5s in order to keep up. There's not a lot of birdie opportunities. Otherwise, the par 5s are scoreable, and you got to get those. So I'm including that in the modeling there. And Xander Schauffele, excellent on par 5s. He ranks 2nd in this field the last 36 rounds. Also 5th ball striking, 12th in short game, and 3rd on approach. And I mentioned bogey avoidance. He is 7th in this field as well there. So pretty much everything points to Xander having a great week again this week. Another golfer I'm going to go with as a favorite on DraftKings, and that is Max Homa. I really like where Max's game is at right now. His last missed cut was in July of last year, and that was at the Open Championship. He was 39th last week, kind of faltered over the weekend a little bit. He certainly had a chance, but I'm not really too upset about it. Max Homa certainly can, his game kind of can fluctuate a little bit back and forth. 38th, not a bad showing at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. He was a winner at the event before that. That was at the Farmers. He also won earlier this swing season in the Fortinet, as well as he was third at the Century Tournament of Champions. So really good form here outside of 39th last week. Not really too concerned there. For him, his course history, the first 2 years he played here, he missed a cut. If you know anything about Max Homa, when he started out on tour, he was not great. He was not the golfer he is today. The last couple of years, he's really come on strong, and he kind of deserves this 9,700 on DraftKings now. He did miss his first two cuts, his first two times playing at this course, but then since then, 37th, 5th, he won 2 years ago, and then he was 10th place last year. So really great course history over the last 4 years for him. He's very good on difficult scoring courses, ranks 6th in my modeling, very good on POA grass greens. And also, if you watched the telecast a couple of weeks ago at the Farmers, they mentioned it a million times. Max Homa loves to play in California, and we're back in California, so why not Max Homa? The stats like him a lot too. He's only really average on the ball striking, 42nd in this field, but he's 7th around the greens. Like I mentioned before, you've got to be good around the greens here at this course. 15th in bogey avoidance, and he is top 10 scrambling as well. I think he's going to be very popular on DraftKings just from the win a couple years ago, win a couple weeks ago. A lot to like though for Max Homa at 9,700, and really the 20-1. I like that as well as a number for your betting card. Let's jump into some values and some pivot plays as well for DraftKings this week. I'm going to start with Wyndham Clark. He's at 7,800 on DraftKings. That's 80-1 outright. I think that absolutely is in play on your betting card there. His form, he's made his last 7 cuts. That includes 2 top 10 finishes at the RSM, and then last week at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, he was 10th as well. He did not play at this course at last year's Genesis, but before that he was 17th in 2020 and then 8th place in 2021. So good course history for him. His last 5 events, he's been gaining in all categories: off the tee, approach, around the greens, and putting. His game is well-rounded right now. And he also is second in my modeling, last 36 rounds for drive distance. Very good. A long driver, I should say. 12th around the greens and top 10 on par 5 scoring. Top 10 in short game too. So he's going to drive it far and then have the short game to make up for any mistakes on the approach. So I really like where Wyndham Clark's at. I think he's going to be very popular on DraftKings. Part of that is his POA putting as well. He is 4th in my modeling last 75 rounds on POA grass greens, but it really lines up to have a great week. I think Wyndham Clark is an excellent option in your cash lineups. For GPPs, just kind of depends on ownership. If it gets a little out of control, maybe look elsewhere, but certainly cash lineups, I love Wyndham Clark this week. A couple low-owned pivots, some guys that will help you get leverage on the field. I'm looking at golfers who rate out well in my model that are not, they're projected lower ownership than some of the golfers around them. Starting near the top, Sungjae Im, 9,400. I was very shocked when I saw the projected ownership for him. It's looking like maybe around 10% or so right now. I've never seen him under 10% ownership on any DraftKings contest in a very long time. He has the lowest projected ownership of anybody that's over 9K in the pricing. The course history is poor, and I think that's why people are not wanting to play Sungjae Im this week. But really, he's in good form. He plays well on difficult scoring courses. I think it's a great leverage spot for him. He has the game to play well at this course, just hasn't shown it in previous attempts. So Sungjae Im, give me him as a pivot leverage play, the high-end leverage play at 9,400 on DraftKings. One more golfer, and that is Nick Taylor. If you were watching the Waste Management Phoenix Open last week, he had a great week. He was going toe-to-toe with Scottie Scheffler for almost all of Sunday. Just fell off a little short towards the end. Obviously, Scottie Scheffler, kind of a next-level golfer. Nick Taylor is not in that category yet, but at 7,400, and the fact that he played so well last week, I think a lot of people will get off of him. That kind of tends to be the way things go when a guy that's of Nick Taylor's caliber pops second place Waste Management. A lot of people get off and think that it was just a one-time deal, but really he's played well. I'm thinking he's going to be around 5% ownership. That's like half of guys that are near him, like Adam Hadwin, KH Lee, much more popular plays in that price range. He's made 5 out of 7 cuts here at this course, so certainly has played here before and very experienced at the Genesis. I think he's certainly worth a look there for some ownership leverage in your DraftKings lineup down at this $7,400 price point. So that is going to do it for picks. I'll mention my one and done this week. I'm going with Max Homa for all the reasons I mentioned on my favorites slide. I did have a big jump last week. Rom got 3rd place. Worked out pretty well for me. I went from about 4,000th place to about 1,500. Need to make up a bit more room, but the season is very, very long. I will roll out Max Homa in the last event in California, with the exception of the major at the Los Angeles Country Club late this season. Obviously, he might be an option there, but I will not be using Max Homa at any of the majors. Instead, give me Max Homa, last event in California at the Genesis this week. That is going to do it for this week's show. I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe to this channel. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer those. If you're wondering about ownership or specific golfers, pop that in there. I'd be happy to answer it. All of my core plays will be on the Fantasy Sports Insight Discord. Best way to find that is through our Twitter page, our handle at FSI_DFS. You can go straight to our website too, FSIDFS.com. In the Discord, I talk weather on Wednesday, ownership, as well as providing those core plays and answering questions anybody has leading up to lock. Be a little bit later lock on Thursday morning, playing out in California. So nice to be able to tinker a little bit on Thursday mornings if that's your thing. But certainly join us in the Discord. Is where the vast majority of information is provided. So thank you very much for watching and good luck this week.